Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jacqueline, aka luxombabe, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about why you're broke and what you can do about it. So I know that sounds a little bit harsh, and I definitely don't mean for it to. However, a lot of my clients come to me because they want a lovingly ass-kicking experience. They don't want to stay the same. They don't want to stay in the same patterns and the same behaviors. And sometimes what you need in that type of situation is just the capital T truth and removing all of the BS and fluff. So that's what we're going to do here today. So this video is really for you if you're someone where it doesn't matter how much money you make. You might be someone that you're making way more money than you used to. However, you still experience the same level of financial comfortability. You still feel broke, even though you've increased your income over the years. So, who I'm not really talking to in this video is going to be someone where you're really just focused on growing your income because you know that you simply just need to make more money, right? To cover your basic necessities to survive. If you're in that type of situation, you really need to focus on growing your income. I have a free training down below called the Foundations of Abundant Income, and that's going to help with that side of the equation. But as I'm sure you've heard me say before, most people don't have an income problem, they have an expenses problem, right? Most people also think that more money is magically going to solve their problems. They think, well, if I only made 20, 30, 40, 50,000 more a year, all of my financial problems would go away. And I'm telling you from my experience, 7 or 8 years at this point of helping people, helping entrepreneurs heal their money patterns, heal their stories. I've done bookkeeping for dozens of businesses at this point. More money is rarely the solution to a problem like this because if you're not managing your money in the micro, the more money you make is only just going to amplify the financial behaviors and the problems that you have. And so, what the best thing to do is if you're someone where you make enough money to cover your basic necessities, but you also know you have a spending problem, you're overspending. It's important that you address what's going on right now because that's actually going to help you grow your wealth and grow your financial comfortability in the future because you didn't just wait for more money to show up before you decided to take control over your financial reality. Hopefully that makes sense. I just really want to hit the point home here that this work is independent of income level. It does not matter if, as long as you have your basic necessities covered, it does not matter if you're making $30,000, $40,000 a year or if you're making $100,000 or $200,000 a year. There are people that make that much money that live paycheck to paycheck, right? I think it's like 1/3 of people that make six figures in the United States live paycheck to paycheck. That tells you right there, it's not about income. It's not necessarily about, how expensive things are in today's economy. It's about the frivolous spending that we get to rein in and we get to start to prioritize our financial stability today and we get to see how that's going to pay off for us in the future. So let's get into it. The first tip, the first reason why you're broke is that you're saving money while you have debt. So again, for some people, this might be very obvious, but I see this more often than I would prefer that people are really focused on saving money, right? They're putting 10%, 20% of their paycheck into a savings account. And that savings account is bringing in anywhere from 0.3% to maybe 3 to 4 to 5% if it's a high yield savings account, right? Meanwhile, they have credit cards, that are 20, 25% interest rates. So while they're saving money, they're losing money on their credit cards, right? And this is something where you think you're doing what you should by putting money into a savings account. And you think you're being, you're doing what everyone else does and doing the normal thing, which who wants to be normal in today's society anyways, right? But what this leads to is you're slowly losing that money through interest, right? Any savings benefit that you could possibly get in a savings account or even in a lot of investment portfolios, right? Maybe you invest in the stock market, but you actively have a decent amount of credit card debt that is, taking hundreds of dollars a year, maybe even thousands of dollars a year that you're paying in interest on those credit cards. So, for a lot of people, they just do it because they think that's what they should do, which, when you break down the math of it, what you should actually do is take that savings, or take some of it at least, and pay down your credit cards so that you actually have less debt. When it comes to the equation of your net worth, when it comes to you feeling financially comfortable, holding less debt and holding a really small amount of debt for your income level is going to be the easiest thing that is going to give you a lift into financial comfortability, right? It's going to take a bill off your plate, and it's just one of those things where people just keep that same pattern because they think that that's what everyone else does, when really the amount of money that they could ever possibly make in the savings account is going to be washed out 20-fold by their credit card interest rate. So if you have 5,000 in your savings and you have 5,000 in credit cards, I want you to really start to think about how you can allocate those funds differently and what's going to bring you closer to your financial goals. Okay, so the next thing is going to be the next tip, or the next reason you might be broke, is because you have not focused on delayed gratification and you're someone that overspends on frivolous things. And this isn't so much of an individual problem as it is a cultural or a societal problem, right? And our whole society is really focused today. I mean, that's literally the basis of Amazon Prime and, things like that, of instant gratification, right? I buy something today, tomorrow it shows up on my doorstep. We are in a deeply, deeply consumerism, materialistic focused society in which at a tap of a button we can receive any material item pretty much that we desire. And so what that does is forces a lot of people, I wouldn't say forces because we all have a choice in this, but what it does is it encourages a lot of people to prioritize the instant dopamine hit they get from shopping over the delayed gratification of long-term financial sustainability and financial comfortability, right? And we know this, that wealth is built undoubtedly, unequivocally, by spending less than you make. If you spend more than you make, you are not you are never going to be able to accumulate wealth, right? And so that's something that we have to address, is we have to get our spending and our expenses lowered, and a lot of that can be eliminated by addressing our own materialistic impulses and why we actually spend. A lot of people shop and a lot of people fill up their house with a bunch of shit that they don't need because when they buy it, it makes them feel good. So, in that sense, what you're doing is you're using money to make you feel good. You're using material items to make you feel good. And you're just perpetuating that cycle of instant gratification, right? Rather than being someone that, sure, you still get to enjoy the luxuries of life, you still get to enjoy material things in your material plane, but you're not prioritizing those things over what that's going to mean for you financially long term. I want you to think about it this way. Are you going to prioritize a bunch of random stuff that you don't need, right? And here's the things I've seen that clients overspend on: going to Target and buying fancy towels, even though they have towels at home. Going to clothes shopping because they actually need something and leaving with 20 new articles of clothing, right? Or making splurge purchases on things that they don't need. A lot of times, for a lot of people, it is small transactions that add up. It's $80 here, $70 here, $200 here. And so in their heads, they think it's not a lot of money. But then when you add it up over the entire month, with some people I've worked with, it's been, 11, 12, 13, $2,000 in just completely frivolous spending purchases that were not contributing. I want you to think about it this way. Are you someone where you would rather have a bank full of cash, right? Money at your disposal, the feeling that of that security that that cash can bring you? Or would you rather be someone that has a house full of a bunch of crap they really didn't need? And, how I see this play out with a lot of my clients and a lot of people that I work with is it's smaller purchases that tend to add up over time. So it's $70 here, $80 here, $130 here. There's kind of smaller things where, you're just going to Target and spending $80. But, with some people I've worked with, that can add up to 1,100, 1,200, 1,300, up to $2,000 a month just in completely frivolous spending, things like buying fancy towels at Target or buying, fancy candles, to impress people, things like that. And again, this is something that is regardless of your income level, it's independent of your income level. And especially, this is especially important to pay attention to if you're someone that you spend on with these frivolous purchases on credit cards. If you're not making these purchases in cash and you're spending it on credit cards, then you're doing kind of double damage, right? Because what you're doing is you're actually financing your bad money habits. Rather than paying cash for your bad money habits, you're financing your bad money habits. And again, not eliminating any sort of financial pleasure whatsoever. It's not saying that you can never spend on, nice things or nice candles or nice towels. It's about what is your priority in this moment, right? Do you want to prioritize your long-term financial security? Or do you want to give into the treat yourself culture and just YOLO everything, right? That's kind of the attitude that a lot of people have is they think, well, the world's going down anyways. I might as well just spend every last dollar I have, right? And I guarantee you, if that does happen and the world goes down anyways, you're not going to give a shit about if that was a $50 towel or a $10 towel. You're just not, okay? So you need to think about truly what's important to you and address those materialistic impulses that you have within yourself. And making sure you're not becoming bound by it and you're not becoming constricted by your own materialism, right? We're here on a material planet to experience material things. And it's okay to be someone that likes nice material things. However, if it becomes golden handcuffs on you, right, it actually binds you up from experiencing more abundance in this world because you're so focused on the material. That's also how you know it's a behavior that you need to spiral up and out of. It's time to let it go. We are in a time of spiritual ascension, right? It's never going to be more material than this right now. And so you can keep, focusing on brand names that aren't any better quality than any other items in the store, right? Or you can, focus on trying to look rich rather than actually trying to be rich through buying luxury items you can't afford. You can keep doing those things, but truly money in the new age, money into the new era that we're moving into is going to be more spiritual in nature, and the people that are more aligned with honoring their money and being a good servant of money are coincidentally the people that are going to experience more wealth. So that's just a little side note there. And then the last thing, so just to sum up here, saving while you have debt, probably the number one reason you're broke. Number two is overspending on frivolous things and not experiencing the joy of delayed gratification. You're too much into instant gratification. And then number three, the last tip here is going to be that you consume too much broke media, right? And I don't want to sound overly skeptical or, like someone with a tinfoil hat on, but I truly believe that there is an agenda to keep the general population broke. I believe that most of the media that is developed for the general public has a skew on it, has an eye on it that is focused towards an us versus them narrative. And us is supposed to be broke people. Us is supposed to be people that struggle financially. And you can see this in, isn't there literally a show called Two Broke Girls? Right? How many of us watched that show, resonated with those women, and you're literally watching a show called Two Broke Girls? or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was. So you have to be really careful the type of media that you're consuming, especially if it gets into doomsday or economic doomsday type media, right? And it's easy to fall into this again when you know what's happening in the economy, you know how the financial system is manipulated by the Federal Reserve banking system. You're aware and awake to all of these things. It's actually easy to see, how, like, for example, everyone thought the recession and inflation was such a big shock. None of the economists saw it coming. There's even articles published in, July of 2020 saying economists agree that this will not lead to higher prices. This will not lead to a recession, right? And when you actually know how economic principles work, you could have seen the recession and inflation coming, years before it actually arrived, right? The more the money supply increases, the more prices also tend to increase, right? And so you have to pay attention to the type of media that you're consuming and making sure it's not bringing you more into problem mode and stewing in problems, and making sure that it's focused on the solution, right? If you believe there's a depression coming and all of the markets are going to crash and blah, 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 what is your solution? It's okay to believe those things, right? It's not necessarily a bad thing to believe those things. It's not a scarcity mindset to be able to see patterns and identify patterns and see what's actually going on in the world. However, you need to be in a solution focused mentality. You need to be, how is this going to benefit you financially? How are you going to build resilience to make it through this economic period? Rather than staying and stewing in the problems, everybody's so broke, prices are so high, complaining about prices being high, and really making sure that you're putting that lens on any media that you're consuming and really paying attention to the underlying messages that are behind it. Because again, what I've seen is a lot of people that do not experience the financial reality that they want, and they are broke. They are also really, really deeply invested into their identity of being an us versus them, of being just a peasant that works for a corporation, and the CEO makes all of the money. They're really into that identity that they've built for themselves around being inferior and not really having the power to bring themselves out of their financial reality, right? And a lot of people can listen to this type of message and say that it's bypassing actual financial issues that people are having, right? And that is, again, never my intention to do so. However, I feel like there's enough people in the world that are talking about how horrible the economy is. There's enough people in the world telling you that you're going to be broke forever because the government is manipulating the financial system. There's enough people doing that. You don't need another opinion in that hat to do that, right? So if you perceive my message as bypassing your financial situation, I want you to think about truly what it is that the true change that you really want to bring about in your life, and how you actually want to move forward. Do you just want someone to tell you what you want to hear, to tell you what your negative mindset wants to hear and agree with how horrible the world is? Or do you want someone that can help you move out of those patterns and be able to build some resiliency for yourself? Of course, always from a place of love, right? This is because I care about you making more money. I care about you experiencing more wealth in your life. That is the true wealth transfer, right? The transfer of wealth from the horrible corporate billionaires to the everyday people. It's not going to happen by sitting around bitching about how broke everyone is. It's not going to happen by sitting around complaining about how horrible the world is. It's going to happen by people that are going to put the effort into changing that and bringing new ideas to the marketplace. So, just to bring a little bit of perspective in there, you really need to be careful of what type of ideas you're consuming. Even if that's from friends or family members, coworkers, other people in your life. I remember at a job I used to have, when it was payday, I was excited because it was payday, right? And I didn't necessarily have a lot of money at the time, but it was still a good day for me to get paid. And I noticed everyone would walk around complaining about, oh, I got paid, but now it's all spent on bills. Like, they would actually be complaining about payday. And, even if you're steeped into that kind of environment, you need to learn to put your blinders on and not absorb that type of energy from other people. And that comes down to your own boundaries around your mind and what kind of thoughts you allow to permeate your life experience. So, hopefully that helps. Hopefully, that, again, that wasn't a little too harsh for most people to take in. Truly, it's coming from a place of, I want you to have more money. And again, if you're someone where you just feel like you need to start expanding the amount of money you make, right? What we talked about today is spending habits. We talked about expenses. But the other side to the equation is income, making more money. And so if you want to learn some techniques or learn to spiral out of deeply held patterns and beliefs around making more money, definitely check out my free training called The Foundations of Abundant Income. I'll leave the link down below. Another thing to think about too is if you need some sort of planner, if you need some sort of organization when it comes to your money, or you just need a place where you can write things out. So much of our experience with money is on a computer screen, it's numbers on a screen. And I created my prosperity planner, which again, I'll leave the link down below for that, to give you a tactile experience with your financial reality. And this is either printable. If you have a printer, you can buy the PDF version of this planner. It's only $7 on PDF and it's over 50 pages. Or if you don't have a printer and you're like me and you just like never have ink for it and you want to buy the paperback version, the paperback is for sale on Amazon. I think it's around $28 or $29, and that comes with 163 pages. So it's basically 10 weeks of planning materials. Some of the trackers actually go up to a year. And so the best description I have for the Prosperity Planner is it's like a money course and a planner all in one. And I'm really excited for you to try that out. If you end up buying it and loving it, make sure you tag me on Instagram at luxombabe. Share your experience with me. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. And I look forward to seeing you again in the future.